Clap. Hello, everyone. Welcome in Burnt Rubber Racing, episode 27 here of our very first season of the Burnt Rubber Racing podcast. I am Henry John. I'm back on the host side, I guess we can call it here tonight. I don't know. Joining me, it's what?
It's
joining me is Zach
27.
McAdoo as he's calling me out already here. I already said I'm not planned for this show. I'm trying to wing it. We're doing a little different style over here. And what are you calling me out on now?
Because we're on episode 26, not 27. Don't get ahead of yourself. We could still be canceled. We could, yeah. I changed it this week.
Misleading information. I didn't change it. Maybe that's why I thought it was 27. Whoops. Well, I guess it's episode 26 of Burnt Rubber Racing. But again, welcome in. We are excited to be here after an exciting race that was at Darlington Raceway last weekend, as he's nodding his head in agreement. A wild Southern 500, quite a way to cap off the crown jewels for the 2021 NASCAR season, and quite a way to start off the playoffs here as the first of 10 playoff races. Denny Hamlin. Zach, it took him all year. He really should have done it at the track we're going to this week. A little thrown off in that spring race. But Denny Hamlin, finally a winner, locks himself into the round of 12 in the NASCAR playoffs. Your overall off-the-top reactions, anything just off the jump here that stood out to you for the Southern 500? Obviously, there were a lot of moments right down to the very final lap in the final turn when Denny Hamlin had to throw a block on a move that I don't know I've ever seen a guy attempt to do. But, Hendrick Motorsports, I guess they got money, right? So your thoughts on the Southern 500, a great race, and Denny Hamlin's win?
Yeah, we'll get into Larson's win a little bit later. But the thing I want to bring up, Hendrick Motorsports and their troubles. I mean, you take out Larson, the three of them all, something happened with a tire, or they ended up with damage, and none of them finished, besides Larson, finished on the lead lap, meaning that two of them are now below the cut line, if I'm correct. I believe Byron and Bowman are both below.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So right now, you got half your team because of one race down below the cut line. You have two races left to fix it, so you've pretty much used your mulligan for this round.
Yeah, two races left, like you said, and I'll rattle off those names below the cut line, and we can look at the point disparities. It is close, I'll say that, and it makes sense that it is close, right? When we have some of the names that are below the cut line right now who are there, they were not expected to be there going into this race, but like you said, a rough one for Hendrick Motorsports. Almost felt like maybe it was past due for them, the way their season has been and how dominant really all four of those teams. A few runs here this year where all four Hendrick cars finished in the top five. Dover, Charlotte, to name a couple there. Those were the two I think that I remember. I don't know if there was a third in there as well, but everyone with trouble except Kyle Larson. And of course, we got to talk about Kyle Larson, right? He besides Hamlin, he's the guy who spent the most time out front in this race. It almost felt like we were correct. The betting market was correct in having Kyle Larson as the odds-on favorite, hovering around 3-1 to win the Southern 500. His car was really good here when they ran at Darlington back in the spring. It was really good again this week. And unfortunately, it almost was like deja vu, right? He just couldn't make the pass. He couldn't get around Martin Truex back in the spring. And it was the same thing here with Hamlin, where he'd have a run and then he would fall back and he would have to regroup to make another run, given how difficult it is to pass at a track like this. And in the end, just could not make it happen. But man, he gave it a good attempt there on that last lap, huh?
As he wording it like him, he tried to video game it and just rode the wall. Literally. like in the old NASCAR games on NASCAR Thunder. We're gonna say, just ride that wall, hope you don't scrub speed and get to the lead. And if Hamlin took the low line, I think Larson's got it. I don't think Hamlin holds off Larson if Hamlin didn't throw that block.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. He was in the right place, right time. I don't think he expected the run to be coming at all, and it threw off, those of us watching the race on TV so much that even the TV commentators were like, Hamlin is slow on the track, and really it was Larson just
didn't break.
Totally not regarding that there was a turn there and just full on sending it. After that move he pulled off in the spring at Darlington, I still think Larson has the biggest pair in the sport right now. If you want to debate me on that, maybe we can later in the show if there's time.
Oh no, I completely agree with you. If you go back, I think I said he had grapefruits after that.
You did, yes. That was the quote right here on this very show. Grapefruits after that between the cars pass when he was trying to run down Truex there back in the spring. Now he's video games sending it here in the final turns. Unbelievable. So, Hamlin's the only guy who's officially locked into the round of 12 here after this race. But Kyle Larson, with that finish runner-up, is sitting pretty, as he really was
80.
coming into the playoffs. 80 points above the cut line, as Zach just said. I really don't think there's a way he can miss the round of 12. The rest of the field, though, they're not out of the water just yet. And we mentioned those names, some surprising names below the cut line here after this race. Actually, it is a dead heat tie in terms of points on the cut line right now. Tyler Reddick and Alex Bowman both at 2,026 points now, because Reddick finished better here at Darlington this past week, which, we got to talk about Reddick for a second, because here's your boy. You're sitting there wearing the hat. What the heck happened, man? Like, I was set to have a great betting return off of the Southern 500. Reddick's running top 10, getting some stage points, and then he just disappeared. He couldn't even win his group. I'm sure you were following the 8 car, maybe a little closer than the rest of us. What happened?
I mean, day turned to night, and he didn't know how to fix his car. I mean, it's just that simple, really. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know if it was too tight or too loose. He didn't know how to get some more speed into the car, which at this point, I think you need to know how to do that if you're going to be in the sport for like this. Like, granted, this is only the third or fourth time, because you have the Coke 600 and the Southern 500 are the other two that really have this transition where the track was really hot during the day to track really cools off at night. So, I mean, you got to know by now, you think.
Yeah, disappointing second half, final stage, whatever you want to call it, of that race for Reddick there for sure, as he winds up 18th. Really was running a lot better than that earlier in the day. But all right, back to these standings here.
Hold on, I think the turning point, if you go back and look at the race, is that save. Once he has that save, where he could have taken a lot of playoff drivers in the second stage, I think it was the second stage, that's when it really started to turn, because he was top 5, got it going for probably 4th, I think, with there, and it just lost it and could not recover from that point.
That is a good point. So perhaps that even threw something off with the car that they just weren't able to diagnose before the end of it. Who knows? Because that was one heck of a save. There was almost a massive pile up with that one. There was still plenty of carnage, though, throughout that race. Some guys who were affected by it: Kyle Busch, William Byron. Those are the two joining Alex Bowman, and all three of those, I think, are a surprise below the playoff cut line at this point. Now, like I said, Bowman's tied with Reddick there. Busch is only 2 points below, and Byron's only 9 points below. But still, I mean, I'm a guy sitting here holding a William Byron futures ticket, so that tells you, kind of what I think of William Byron and how, he's been one of the most consistent drivers all season long, right? And consistency is typically rewarded in these playoffs. And there were good prices on him. We both liked his numbers a little bit coming into the playoffs. So that just goes to show, how shocking it is, those names there. Michael Mcdowell kind of predicted that he would be one of the 4 odd men out. Now, unfortunately, he wrecked out of this race early. So
he was the first one, so that's really what screwed him.
Yeah, the first big wreck, he's facing an uphill battle for sure. However, I will say this, Zach, maybe the one silver lining for that Front Row Motorsports team is the fact that there was so much turmoil with the playoff drivers ahead of them. And, we're mentioning these surprise names joining McDowell below the cut line. That 20-point deficit, it could have been a whole lot more had everyone else not had trouble. So, honestly, McDowell, it feels like he needs to win a race, right? He doesn't mathematically need to win a race. I will say that. It could have been a whole lot worse for that team.
Mathematically, no, he's not out. But right now, Michael McDowell absolutely needs to win a race. And he's the only one, because I do want to point out, I think someone at NBC said that Kyle Busch needed to win, is in a must-win situation. No, he's not. I could once he wrecked, I could have told you he's not in a must-win situation. Kyle Busch is one of the best at Richmond and at Bristol. He could top 5 his way in at both races and still make the field of 12. I don't know. I think it was Kyle Petty. I don't know what he's smoking, but get off it, dude. Seriously.
Yeah, that's kind of a ridiculous take. That wouldn't be the first by some of those NBC analysts. Anyway, I didn't say that. The other thing I have to throw out there is some of these other finishers here.
Okay, well, we want to talk about your finishers. Let me go back. Last week, I said you're going to have some guys that are not in the playoffs outperform what they probably should be. And who doubted me? Who said they were going to put more work into their other cars, into their playoff cars? And whose boy finishes third? It probably should have won if not getting stopped by Larson and screwed over by NASCAR.
That would be Ross Chastain.
Yes.
Yeah, he's my boy. He's my favorite driver. He finished third. I was fading him last week. I was also fading Austin Dillon, who finished top 10. They both proved me wrong. I'm more than willing to admit when I was wrong. I was heading down that path, but Zach is always chomping at the bit to call me out.
I got to jump.
He beat me to it. Thanks a lot. I could have said that too. Even Chris Buescher was in the top 10. So 3 non-playoff drivers finishing in the top 10 of the Southern 500 there. But Chastain and Dillon for sure. Like, I was anti both of them in terms of when we were making our betting picks and whatnot last week, both proving me wrong. I would say that I was wrong on Hendrick Motorsports too. There was definitely a comment on last week's show where I said things could get very interesting getting down to the round of 8 in these playoffs, because it would not shock me if all 4 Hendrick drivers were alive and well. Not a great start to the playoffs for Hendrick Motorsports as an organization. So I was wrong on a few levels last week, but is what it is. What can I say? I'm more than happy with a Chastain top 3 though. Rounding out the top 5 behind Hamlin, Larson, Chastain, you had Truex Jr., the Spring Darlington winner. He's also the betting favorite going into this weekend's second playoff race at Richmond. Kevin Harvick also scoring a top 5 there, and then Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, and then the aforementioned Buescher and Dillon round out your top 10. Anyone else you wanted to throw out there? Any other incidents from this race that stood out to you? One of them is technically falling under, I guess, our news and notes section of this podcast. But if we wanted to cover it now, we certainly can, because it came right out of this race.
I just want to point out, this is the most I've had written for one race so far. It took up 3 pages. So if you want, it was a long race for me, and I shouldn't say I absolutely hated it, but this is the only part I didn't like, was having to go read all my notes and but there's really nothing. I think we covered everything I really wanted to talk about, besides Blaney spinning with 50 to go and changing the aspect of that race, because who knows who I wanted to see which strategy would play out well. I don't know about you.
I really did as well. And Chastain had passed Larson via pitting a lap earlier, so I was very excited, only to have my hopes dashed. But, is what it is. I was fading Chastain, so I guess I didn't deserve to see him win last week anyway.
Yeah, it's your fault.
The Xfinity Series and the Truck Series were both in action at Darlington last weekend as well, Zach. This was the continuation of the Truck Series playoffs, their second race. Originally, it was supposed to be at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Instead, moved to Darlington because Canada's weird like that. Sheldon Creed is now 2 for 2 in the playoffs, and holds off John Hunter Nemechek to get this win. Stuart Friesen, Todd Gilliland, Parker Kligerman. Fancy seeing him up there. Rounds out the top 5. But Sheldon Creed, is he mapping his way into, should I say, the guy you are necessarily expecting to win the championship now? Is John Hunter Nemechek, who dominated the regular season, more or less, still that guy for you? And just your overall thoughts here, and any other finishers you wanted to shout out as Creed wins back-to-back playoff races to kick things off here.
With this format, I don't think you can pick a winner yet. I think you have to see who gets to the championship 4. Because everyone's going to be, has always been, oh, Larson's going to win, Larson's going to win. You have to look at his Phoenix stats, though. You can't just say Larson's going to win the championship because you don't know how we could do at Phoenix because of this format. Now, I think Creed is going to put up a fight at Phoenix because he's been there before. He's won the championship there
last year.
Yeah, and so I believe it's right now it's Nemechek versus Creed, and those are the two front runners who are just probably running away with it right now.
Definitely hear you there. So I'm just pulling up the updated standings after that second playoff race there. It's still tight down here around the cut line with one race to go here in the first round. Of course, only 2 drivers eliminated, 10 get in the Truck Series. Only 2 eliminated here after this first round. And you've got Zane Smith trailing Austin Hill by 5, and Chandler Smith is only down 12. So there is still a lot to be decided as they head to Bristol in 2 weeks' time. It'll be a Thursday night race under the lights there in the bull ring to end their first round. If you had to go one way or another, do you think either of those guys are capable of making up the difference? Interesting to see Smith, ran so well early at Worldwide Technology, and here his teammate goes out and wins back-to-back races, and he has struggled in the back half of these races and is below the cut line on points.
I mean, where's the next race at? I think it's Bristol. So it's not out of the question.
Like 30 seconds ago. But.
Okay, listen. I was thinking about your question before you asked it, and I completely just messed up. Okay, asshole. So
probably texting one of the biddies too.
What biddies? Are you smoking something too? You got that Kyle Petty stash out now? What? Okay, but anyways, a serious note. Zane Smith, I wouldn't say either one of them are out of it yet. I think that both of them could point their way in because we don't know what could happen at Bristol. Bristol's one of those tracks where you could be leading one moment and the next moment you're taken out in a wreck because of back markers. So I think anything can happen.
Yeah, and I will say, given the mechanical issues Chandler Smith and the 23 had there at Worldwide Technology, and of course they were able to outfinish a few playoff drivers in that race, but to be only 12 points back, given what they had, the adversity they had to face there, and being the last driver in to the playoff field of 10, I think they will take that in a heartbeat here at this point. So plenty still to be decided in the trucks in their final round of 10 race coming up next week. Xfinity Series, though, they are yet to begin their postseason, but they were running at Darlington. Somebody was very excited with the outcome of this race. I think, I'm not quite as excited as McAdoo, I'll fully admit that, but we both agreed after the fact that it was a long time coming for Noah Gragson to get that 9 car into victory lane. I mean, the floor is yours because I know you. This is all you.
Oh, the only good driver of the 9 car finally got a win. Holy crap! And yes, I did that to piss off every Chase Elliott fan because I don't really mean it. It's just Chase Elliott fans have got me pissed off over the pet this year with having to.
I think he means it.
Having to swallow a lot of fill in the blank. Don't fill the blank. Don't fill the blank. I'll say crap because that one could have gone really wrong. Back to my point, though. Gragson should have had the win at Miami. Got screwed out of it because of a slow back marker who blew a tire and absolutely destroyed his car for no reason. And David Starr is still a petty bitch about it because he's entering his car just so Beard Motorsports can't enter Gragson. So, David Starr, you're an asshole. Fuck yourself.
All right. So all kinds of fire coming from my co-host.
But
we're dissing Chase Elliott fans. Do you have more?
I was gonna say, we finally got it happen. He blew up the back tires, which I really want to order that car. But I don't know how. We gotta look at my bank account, make sure it's okay for now. But yeah.
I'm not gonna comment on your bank account. I'm just going to say Harrison Burton, Austin Cindric, Justin Haley, Jeb Burton, rounding out the top 5 in the Xfinity Series race at Darlington. Big win for Gragson, locks him into the playoffs. He had been trending down toward the cut line in the middle of the season, had since been putting together some solid runs and kind of helped his standing in the points. Now he doesn't have to worry about it. He is locked in and ready to go. When do the Xfinity playoffs start? Do you
know? No. After Bristol,
You're supposed to know these things.
I think it's after Bristol because I think they go the last 7 weeks with the Cup.
Gotcha. So, of course, the top 12 get in the Xfinity Series. So as of right now, it's really, kind of a lopsided deal in terms of points there on the cut line. You're looking at Myatt Snyder's 12th in points, right? But he has a win, so he's locked in. And the gap between Riley Herbst and Michael Annett is nearly 50 points. So Annett's got some ground to make up here if he's going to.
Let's point this out too. Annett missed how many races too? To this point, I can't click on it and figure it out, but
I believe it was 3, right?
He's got 20 starts to Herbst 24, so he's missed 4 starts. The fact that Herbst is only 46 above Annett with this equipment is pathetic.
Yeah, Zach's not a big Riley Herbst guy. In case you hadn't caught that.
I used to be a Herbst fan. I don't know, but how do you go from 9 wins with Chase Briscoe to 0? Then again, all of SHR is down. They only have 1 win this year, so maybe it's not just Herbst. Maybe it's all of SHR. But
yeah, I am really curious to see how next year looks, and we've talked about this ad nauseum before. But how SHR rebounds next year with the next gen car, or if they don't rebound, is this a permanent thing we're seeing? Is this the last year of the new car at the Cup level? We don't know. Only time will tell. I mean, Herbst isn't even at the Cup level, though, so it is even more peculiar.
The NXS level, yeah, but it's still Stuart Haas. It's still the Stuart Haas down there. It could be funding problems. It could be this, that, and the next thing. We don't know.
Right. Yeah, only time will tell on that front. But at any rate, Annett, we'll see if he can make up the difference, and no one else is really in striking distance, so it would take a win to get a full-time Xfinity driver, a surprise entry into the playoffs at this point. I dare say, I think that ties a bow on Darlington, right? Oh, wait, except it doesn't tie a bow on Darlington because a certain Cup driver got a hefty fine after he rather boldly drove behind the wall back into the garage area. Some people did have to scurry out of his way. There was no slowing down. He ran over a traffic cone. Either that or he pushed it back there. I can't even remember at this point. It's been a few days. Kyle Busch fined $50,000 by NASCAR for basically being belligerent after he was wrecked out of the Southern 500. What more do you have on this? Your reactions? I mean, the guy was just pissed off, absolutely pissed off. His, some words even came over the interview on NBC that he gave after, and he was out of his fire suit before he went to the infield care center. Like, he went right in the holler. He was done.
Yeah,
I thought it was entertaining. I was all for it. I mean, but I will say the other question I'm going to pose to you as part of this, right? How do you feel about Kyle Busch going forward? Like, we know he has the stats at Richmond. We know he has the stats at Bristol. He can probably still get out of this round. But in terms of expectations, where are you at with the 18 team? Because to his point, they do need to be better.
It's one race. I don't know why, like, everyone's saying, oh, this is bad. This is coming in the future. Like, dude, this happens with Kyle all the time. I don't, like I said earlier, if people said he's in a must-win situation, no, he's not. He's going to point his way in and be fine. I still have him. I think I had him in the round of 8 exit when I did my my grid picks or whatever you want to call it. And I still feel that way. I still feel he's gonna be fine. This won't affect him going forward, especially with him coming to Richmond and Bristol.
Fair enough. After this week's race, I think I'm going to have to ask you next week what grid pick you would go back and change once we have another race and we're getting to the end of the first round. You got a do-over. I'm going to give you one do-over next week. We'll go back to that article and revisit it.
Preview right now. I have Byron in my championship 4.
Well, we're not doing do-overs this week.
That may be. I'm just saying it could be.
Only 9 points out. It's all good. More news and notes from the world of racing, specifically most of it coming from NASCAR, as it usually does here this week. Zach, the Busch Clash is moving to Los Angeles. What is this? It's a staple of. It's a staple of the
Daytona,
big week at Daytona. What are we doing?
So, NASCAR wants to move the Busch Clash to LA, to the LA Memorial Coliseum, and race it, I believe, the week before the Super Bowl, and capitalize on the Super Bowl being in LA, if I'm correct. That's the reason why they want to do it. They put a temporary track inside the LA Memorial Coliseum, have a little short track race there, and try to get the LA market in. Now, we've talked a lot about traditionalists and how they don't like stuff being moved from Daytona into different dates. How are they going to feel about this one? This might be more than rumor. I think they're about to dot the I, cross the T's and whatnot. So, I mean, it's almost a done deal, I feel like.
Why don't you just run a new exhibition race out there? Why do you have to move a Daytona staple, Speed Week staple? Because
they had a horrible road course races there this year.
That's why we can put it back on the oval, can't we?
I agree. You're preaching to the choir. They don't. But then there's
does NASCAR really think LA is going to have they're going to pull a massive fan base out of LA? Seriously? They don't even go more than 5 miles an hour in their cars out there because they're stuck in traffic all the time. So they don't know nothing about this.
That's why this is entertainment.
And NASCAR thinks they're going to get
see cars go fast instead of 5 miles an hour on the highway or throughway.
Give me a break. This is a joke.
I mean, it's there. I mean, it's.
I'm sorry. That's not the. It's not the fan base that is.
Don't tell me you're not in the short track race, there, boy.
And it will not be the fan base that comes on board with this sport going forward. Next gen testing continues with multi-car runs at the aforementioned Daytona. What more do you have on this?
This is their first attempt to see the moved up numbers. If you saw pictures and videos from what they had, it still looks weird. It's going to take some time to get used to. But going back to include the last thing, this is why we need the Clash in Daytona, because you'll see how the cars react to a real race if you keep it on the high banks of Daytona.
You think?
But I understand NASCAR wants to try to, do something with
NASCAR and Hollywood don't mix. I'm sorry. That's the dumbest idea.
Talladega Nights says otherwise.
Moving on. This got me fired up. This is absolutely ridiculous. You know what else has me fired up, Zach? We have got playoff race number 2 this weekend. The Federated Auto Parts 400 at Richmond Raceway. NASCAR's second voyage to America's premier short track this season after they only ran one race here a year ago due to all those wacky scheduling changes for reasons that will not go named on this show. We've got driver stats. We have got some DFS discussion. We have got betting odds and picks. And I am going to pester McAdoo on a group that I cannot decide what I want to do with this week when we get to the betting section. But first, a little more on this 3/4 mile oval. Talk about a unique track length. That is Richmond. It wasn't always that way, though.
Okay, so Richmond Raceway opened in 1946 as Atlantic Rural Expedition Fairgrounds track. I can't read what's out in front of me. Apparently, it always was a 3/4 mile track, I believe. It has hosted a cup. It has hosted 2 Cup Series races every year since 1958. The only exception was last year, of course. All 4 turns are banked at 14 degrees. I can't talk apparently either. And it used to be the cutoff race between the playoffs and the regular season. Now it is in the playoffs, and Daytona is the cutoff race.
Yeah, and I think I like Daytona better. So, okay, Richmond Raceway was always 3/4 of a mile?
Yeah.
Since it was built. So where was the Federated Auto Parts 400 originally run? Because it used to be run on a half-mile track. Do you know the answer to that?
The H if I know.
It must have been at a different track then.
Oh my God, we're gonna Google this right now. Federated.
1988 was the year, I believe it was 88. If I have that remembered correctly, the track distance increased. Because the race used to be 500 laps, but the mileage was like 29 miles shorter than the current 300-mile distance. 400 in the race name this weekend, for those of you listening, is the total number of laps. The race is 300 miles in length, though. But back when it was a 500-mile lap race, it was 271 miles long.
All right,
then some live
Wikipedia lied to me. This is why you don't use it in classes, kids. Take note.
So you were wrong. I was right.
Yep, let me have it.
All right, there we go. I won't bury you like you buried me for being wrong last week.
Yeah,
I'll be nicer. Anything else on the track itself, though? Going back to the spring here, this was a race that Denny Hamlin could have and should have won until there was that late restart, and Alex Bowman's crew chief made the decision to pump up those tires, and Bowman had the restart of a lifetime, and in Zach's words, after the fact, stole his first win of the season. He would go on to have 2 more, and never really dominated in any of his victories, which is, it's kind of rare to see in the sport. I feel like usually when drivers win, they lead a lot of laps. Not the case with Bowman.
Didn't I call him Mr. Where Did He Come From Jr.?
Yeah, pretty much. He's the new Kevin Harvick, I guess, in the sport. Except Kevin Harvick hasn't come to victory lane at all this year. So
let's not talk about that. We're just going to move ahead. We're going to talk about my DFS picks.
Oh, no. I got some driver averages at Richmond International Raceway, now named Richmond Raceway, before we get there. Denny Hamlin, that runner-up finish he had in the spring, that was nothing new for him here at this track. Over the last 10 races, he leads all NASCAR Cup Series drivers in average finish, 5.6, 8 top 10s, 7 top 5s, and a whopping 5 top 3s, including this spring's race over that span. Joey Logano not far behind, though, 5.9 average finish, 7 top 10s, 4 top 3s for him. Kyle Busch, average finish 6.2. He's going to need something positive along those lines if he hopes to climb back into the top 12 on points and get back on the right side of the playoff cut line this weekend. Martin Truex Jr. I'll tease the betting section right now. He's the betting favorite. Average finish of 6.8. So 4th in average finish, but the betting favorite coming in. Maybe that's because he's been top 5 in each of the last 5 races, top 3 in 4 straight before his 5th place run this spring. And, oh, by the way, 2 wins, both in 2019. He swept the 2019 races at Richmond. Brad Keselowski, average finish of 7.2. Kevin Harvick, average finish of 8.0. Keselowski, by the way, won last year's race. I should throw that in there. Christopher Bell, only 2 starts, but average finish of 9.5 thanks to a 4th place run here in the spring. And Kurt Busch, 11.5 is the next driver in line there. But after that, we're out of the top 10. Any other names you'd be curious on? Any comments on those guys as we start to jump into some DFS discussion here momentarily?
No, I think we both look at the same stats today. So
yeah, but Wouldn't be surprised. There is one other name I'll throw at you, and whether you want to give me your thoughts on him, I don't know if he's in your picks or anything. So you can save him if he is. But Eric Almirola, average finish of 14 over the last 10, but in the last 5 races, he has 5 top 10s, including a top 5. And he has been top 10 the last 2, 8th and 6th earlier this spring. Are you feeling a little AA maybe as we get into this, some DFS and stuff?
It would be a bad pick. I mean, he's still going to point his way in. He's going to try to do all that. So, yeah, I mean, I believe he is above the cut line, right? Because we have Bowman, Busch, Byron. Yeah, so, yeah.
Surprise name above the cut line, I think, after this first race, right?
Yeah, he doesn't need to swing for the fences here, or as of now. So why not take a shot at Almirola, who is going to try to get accumulate as many points as he can before Bristol?
See, great minds think alike. He was the name that really stood out to me as, this guy, it wasn't always pretty, but he is figuring this place out. Consistent here of late. Let's jump into the DFS here, Zach. In terms of DFS pricing, lo and behold, Martin Truex Jr. tops that board as well with a $14,000 salary. Denny Hamlin, $13,500. Kyle Busch, $13K. Joey Logano, $12,500. Kyle Larson, $12,000. Brad Keselowski, $11,500. Kevin Harvick, $11,000. Chase Elliott, $10,500. Christopher Bell, $10,000. I don't think there's any major surprises there, given the list that we just read off. Who are going to be some heavyweights you're interested in? And anyone on there that you are steering clear from among those high-priced names for sure this week?
The guy I want is Hamlin. I mean, he dominated the race in the spring. This is his home track. He won last week. What more do you need out of the guy? Because he's going to be red hot this week. So there's that's one guy I have in my lineup. One guy you didn't read off yet, but he was on a hot streak before last week. It's Ryan Blaney. This guy cannot figure out this track for the life of him. He in his last 10, his average finish is like 24th, and his only finish on the lap 3 times. So Blaney is surprisingly not good here. I would not put him in your lineup, and make sure you try to find someone cheaper.
Yeah. So in other words, save the $9,500. That is Blaney's salary for this Saturday night's race. And like you said, Zach, he hasn't cracked the top 10 in any of the last 10 races. Best finish of 11th came this spring. So there is, I guess, that recency. But, not Richmond, clearly not Ryan Blaney's favorite track at all. I like the Denny Hamlin call again, just to reread these stats here because it is literally that impressive. 7 top 5s in the last 10 races, 3 in the last 4, and 5 top 3s, including a win in the last 10 races for Denny Hamlin. He's not the most expensive guy, but he's got the momentum. He's got those stats. Get him in there. Eric Almirola just below Ryan Blaney in terms of pricing at $9,200. Curious as what you might be doing there, and if not AA at that price, maybe a cheaper value play for those playing DFS for the Federated Auto Parts 400 this week.
Matty D. Oh, God, voice crack. So I have Matty D because he finished top 10 here earlier this year. I feel like he's definitely trying to audition out for them. He's got the hat on, audition out there for another team. And so he's gonna be pushing it way too hard, probably be way too aggressive. So I like Matty D this week. And then on the opposite side of that, a cheap guy I don't like at all, Michael McDowell, because he's gonna have to fling everything.
You're breaking my heart.
Listen. He's gonna fling.
Tell me why.
He's gonna fling everything he can at the wall, hoping something sticks, either earn points or get him a win. And it's not gonna work, I don't think. He starts 16th. His average finish here is 25.2 with a 27th place finish earlier this season. Yeah, it's not going to work out.
That's really sad. Matt DiBenedetto is $7,800. Michael McDowell an even $5,000. Just for those keeping track of pricing at home. We didn't talk about him when we recapped the Southern 500, but can we show some love to Corey LaJoie for a second? Dude was running top 10 at freaking Darlington. Are you kidding me? Spire Motorsports, they're figuring this thing out. He's 4,000. I don't know. Do you want to load up on a bunch of heavyweights? Maybe combine Truex, Hamlin, Busch, or whoever up there at the top? Would you throw LaJoie in there? Like he was right there at Daytona too.
Where does he start?
Some momentum here.
Where does he start though?
Starts 25th.
Maybe. I mean, that's not a bad play, I don't think, because you can stack Hamlin and Larson, because you could feel like one of those two is going to lead a lot of laps and win, because, well, obvious reasons it's good. But, yeah, it's not I wouldn't say it's a completely bad play.
Perfect. That's all I wanted to hear. The first Richmond race was so long ago. That was like before Kyle Larson was dominant this year.
It was April. You can say that about a lot. Pretty much any track we go to from here on out.
Yeah. It's crazy. Well, Talladega, I think he was already running really well, but at Talladega,
Talladega was April, so that was before his second win. Talladega was before his second win. I can't. Bristol's next week.
Well, he strung together. Remember, he strung together a bunch of those second place finishes before he started winning more. So, but yeah, this Richmond run, he was only 18th, and this was before it was the season of Larson. That took me for a trip down memory lane there. When I was figuring that out earlier today, you lose track of when we've been to these places. Anyone else in DFS? I guess the only other one I would ask you, do you like Joey Logano at 12,500, or would you rather look elsewhere? If you're putting Hamlin in your lineup, would you be looking elsewhere as a second high price guy? Do you like Logano? I mean, he's 0.3 of a spot behind him here in terms of average finish over the last 10. Third here in the spring. Seems like a solid pick to me. I don't know.
I would rather go with his teammate with Brett Keselowski. I feel like Keselowski is going to do better than Logano. As much as Penske doesn't want that to happen because Keselowski's out the door after this year. I still get like BK this week.
Well, we got to go head to head on that one then. Logano's just been so much more consistent. I don't want anything to do with Keselowski, I feel like, this year. I really don't. Maybe when we get to Talladega, I can reconsider that, but you really it seems like you don't know what you're going to get week to week with the two team. Anyway, I think we can jump over to some betting odds here. Already teased the favorite for this race. And it is Saturday night. I'm going to reemphasize that. Saturday night, 7:30 p.m., the Federated Auto Parts 400. So if you're looking for this race on Sunday afternoon, what's that?
NBCSN. Got to throw that out there too. That way people miss.
NBCSN. It's not on the main network. It's going head-to-head with the Cyhawk, so I might have to find somewhere to watch both at once. Not sure what I'm going to do about that yet. Shout out college football fans. Martin Truex Jr., though, he is the betting favorite, plus 550. Denny Hamlin, plus 650. It seems like we're mirroring our DFS pricing here a little bit in terms of betting odds to win here, Zach. Is it just me? Kyle Busch, also plus 650. Joey Logano, 7-1. Kyle Larson, plus 750. Chase Elliott, 9-1. Brad K, 10-1. So we got 7 guys there priced at 10-1 or less to win this bad boy. Notice that the spring winner, Alex Bowman, is not among them. However, the guy who dominated that spring race, Denny Hamlin, is. And you got your 2020 win there, Brad K, in there just at the back end, 10-1 as well. It's your pick to win among these favorites.
I got to look here. I forgot who I had to win.
Oh, he forgot who he had to win. That's really nice. I'm just going to throw it out there while you're doing that. Top 3 finish, Denny Hamlin, 2-1. 5 of his last 10 starts at Richmond have gone for a top 3 finish. 2-1. Runner up here in the spring. Dominated that race. Has the momentum coming in. Zach already broke all this down when he was talking about him as his high-priced driver of choice for DFS. 2-1 on a Hamlin top 3. That's making the betting column this week. I'll say that right now, and I'm giving it to you right here on the show too. I guess I hope you didn't expect me to read that.
Can you not read? Are you kidding me? Martin Truex.
I was on a different screen. I'm looking at the odds here. Come on.
All right. Well, here.
You can share your picks with the people.
There you go. I have Martin Truex first, Keselowski second, Harvick third. Is that what we wanted to hear?
Martin Truex, Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick. That's your top three.
Yeah.
All right. So there it is from Zach himself. So he's going chalk with the favorite apparently this week. Martin Truex Jr. at plus 550. I like Hamlin for top three. I feel like he might be the preferred choice to win too. I don't know. I haven't decided on a winner yet. Logano at 7-1 is tempting, even though Zach seems to hate Logano this week. I don't know. Moving on. Got some more playoff drivers here. Kevin Harvick, 11-1. Christopher Bell, 15-1. William Byron and Alex Bowman, those 200 teammates, need to get themselves back on the right side of the playoff cut line, 16 and 18-1, respectively. Ryan Blaney, 20-1. Eric Almirola, 25-1. Kurt Busch and Tyler Reddick are both 30-1. They're all playoff drivers here in this second tier, we'll call it. Zach, anyone jumping out to you there? I know you have Harvick going for a top three. Do you actually think he can go win this thing, though? Get win number one of the year for him a week after Hamlin finally did it?
I don't think so. The fact that Blaney's 20-1 surprises me because of how bad he is here. But I mean, why not Almirola? Almirola at 25-1 doesn't seem like a bad pick with his history here. I feel like I'd be a better play than Blaney at 20-1. So get your value where it is.
Yeah, I could also see a case to be made for Kurt Busch. You know, he wasn't averaging a top 10 finish, but he was the first driver outside of an average top 10 finish, 11.5. Now, it hasn't been great recently. Kurt Busch is actually trending the opposite direction of Almirola almost here at Richmond. He had 4 top 10s 2016 through 17 here, but he hasn't finished better than 11th in any of the last 6 races, 13th in both the last 2. I don't know. How do you feel about Kurt Busch? Kind of trending in the opposite direction, but man, Chip Ganassi's been fast lately, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think they've turned a corner from they used to be horrendous. We talked about this on the show. Like, I had Kurt Busch how many times in the bad side of the DFS picks, and I feel like they're now either one of them could go and win a race, especially after last week. So don't count out the CGR, either one of them. Don't count out either one of the CGR Chevys there.
Yeah, it's completely night and day between the beginning of the season and now for CGR. And, I didn't mean to, maybe I did mean to be a little funny with saying night and day, because Kurt Busch has gone on the record as saying the CGR cars come to life with these night races. So particularly last week where you have the Southern 500 day turning into night, we saw Ross Chastain come on strong as that race went on. And Kurt faded from running, I think he was running second early in the race, but he still scored a solid top 10 finish. Maybe night racing is to the benefit of the Ganassi cars. Well, they're doing more of it this week. So maybe keep an eye on Kurt Busch there. Interesting you mentioned Ross Chastain too, because not at DraftKings specifically, but at a couple other shops I was looking at, Chastain actually has much shorter odds than even a Tyler Reddick to go out and win this race this week. So that would suggest maybe some respect from the market after what he was able to do last week. He's still hovering around the 50-1 mark as he is here at DraftKings, where we're referencing on the show. But Reddick is just longer than the 30-1. So take that for what it's worth, I guess. Maybe Reddick is buying the money at DraftKings. I don't know which way to read that exactly. At any rate, as we look at some long shots here, the famed dollar in a dream portion of the show, Chastain is joined by Austin Dillon at 50-1 to win this weekend. Matt DiBenedetto, who Zach liked as a value play in DFS, is 60-1. Cole Custer, 80-1. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 100-1. Daniel Suarez and Chris Buescher, 130-1. Bubba Wallace, Ryan Newman, Chase Briscoe, 150-1. Eric Jones, 200-1. Michael McDowell is 250 to 1. Got to get him in there because he is a playoff driver. And, we'll include Corey LaJoie and Ryan Preece at 300 to 1 as well. I don't know that we need to mention anyone else.
No, just for time's sake, we're just going to skip them.
Yeah.
But as always, if you're honestly thinking about betting Cody Ware, send me your dollar. We'll just, I can spend it way better than you.
Same price as last week, 1,000 to 1 on Cody Ware. Just because we got to have Cody Ware here. But let's get serious. Dollar and a dream. It's not Cody Ware for Zach.
I forgot. Did you see his tweet that he sent out that everyone started making fun of him for?
No.
Remind me to tell you about it.
I still haven't been back on Twitter. I'm delaying it at this point.
Remind me to talk to you about it after the show. I'm not going to talk about it on there.
Okay. Do you have a dollar to dream? What
yeah, we'll go.
It's infatuated with Cody Ware, folks. I'm sorry
because of how bad he is. Okay, Chris Busch is my dollar to dream. Okay, just Chris Buescher, 131. I am on this guy. He's gonna win eventually. He'll win again eventually, I should say, because he already has that one win. So why not here? Why not with RFR? RFR, come on, one time, do it.
That's been a long time. I can get behind that. Buescher's been running well lately. I don't have a problem with it. Top 10. This is one I've been looking at as a fringe article pick. Austin Dillon, plus 130. Tell me I'm crazy. Completely zigging on my zag from last week, fading Austin Dillon here a little bit. But to me, it's almost more, I just like that number on an Austin Dillon top 10. He's been consistent all year. Top 10 at Darlington. Solid at Richmond. He's been steadily improving there throughout his career. What do you think of that?
I'm not betting on any of the not playoff drivers. They're not going to do anything.
Okay. Yep. Let's look at some driver props here, some head-to-head matchups. Denny Hamlin. You took Martin Truex Jr. to win the race. Denny Hamlin's plus 115 just to beat Martin Truex head-to-head. Truex laying $1.40. I don't know. If somebody's betting Truex to win, maybe a little hedge that play there with Hamlin. Do you think they're just cut above the rest here a little bit?
I wouldn't.
If you didn't have Truex to win, you would bet that number, wouldn't you?
What, the 115
or 115 on Denny Hamlin?
Yeah. It wouldn't be a bad hedge if you're going to have Truex because they're both JGR.
Right?
I feel like any JGR car has a chance to win this race because of how good Toyotas usually are here. So why not just hedge your bet a little bit on Hamlin here, especially considering this is his home track.
Agreed. Now, this is one I am excited to throw at you because we've kind of talked both of these guys up. Eric Almirola is laying minus 125 in a head-to-head against Kurt Busch at plus 105. What on earth do we do there?
Take your Busch.
Plus money? I would be right there with you, the return.
Plus money, and Kurt is right when he says the nighttime is the right time for the CGR cars.
Amen to that. Let's go to the groups. This is another one I've been excited to ask you about. I even told Zach to look at this one ahead of the show. Whether or not he did, is another story. He might be hearing these numbers for the first time. Who knows?
Christian Bell plus 225. William Byron plus 250. Whoa. Alex Bowman plus 250. Ryan Blaney plus 300. I will tell you right now, if you may pay attention before, you should know which one I'm going to say do not take.
Well, I know it's not Ryan Blaney. He's not the one I want to take. I'm looking at William Byron here, and I'm like, the dude has to go out and throw down a run after falling below the cut line last week.
So does Bowman, though.
At Richmond in the spring. Way more consistent than Alex Bowman. If we're going to go Hendrick on Hendrick here, I would much rather have William Byron. I'm still holding that futures ticket. Maybe I'm a little biased, and that's why. Do you trust William Byron? Do you like William Byron at plus 250, knowing we're throwing Ryan Blaney out? And that was part of my thinking too, right? Like, I can take this group of 4, and I can make it a group of 3 right away because I don't think Ryan Blaney's going to have a solid run here.
No,
so then I'm looking at William Byron to win a 3-car horse race with that handicap plus 250. I don't know. Stay away for you, or do you?
I'm leaning towards Bell, honestly. I would, like I just said, the JGR Toyotas, there's something about them here at this track. And I feel like Bell is going to get some help. Bell's going to get some help on it from Truex, Hamlin, and Kyle Busch, who are all three of them know how to run here.
All right. I guess I'll have to go somewhere else. I do hear you on that, though, and that Christopher Bell is really the big reason why I struggled to fully get behind that William Byron pick. I don't know. It may still come out. We'll see. Check out my betting column, flurrysports.org, for all of my picks, my official picks, I guess we should say, for the race this week. And check out Zach's DFS column, too, while you're at it once those goes up, both in the Little NASCAR section at flurrysports.org. You know, we like to give out some winners on this show, though, too. And Group F is always a winner, no matter whether we get it right or not. For some reason, Matthew skipped it last week. He broke tradition, but in honor of the Clash staying in Daytona, we're going to be traditionalists this week because get out of here, LA. Chris Buescher, 2-1, your Group F favorite. Bubba Wallace, plus 220. Ryan Newman, 3-1. Chase Briscoe, 3-1. I know Buescher was your dollar in a dream, but he's the group favorite. Not as much return there. Can you be swayed on anyone else?
No. Maybe Newman. Maybe he's RFR teammate in Ryan Newman, only because they have the same equipment, and I feel like it's either going to go one way or the other between them. Bubba's not great here. Let's get that out in the open now. Bubba, even granted, he's only had one race in 23. He is not. He's back half finisher here, and Chase Briscoe's only seen the track once. It's not. I think he finished back half in the spring.
22nd, yeah.
Yeah. So again, avoid him. I would either take Ryan Newman or Chris Buescher here, and I would lean Chris Buescher because I feel like he's gonna get the better equipment because he's coming back.
All right. I like that breakdown. Well done. And then real quick, just looking at team of the race winner, Joe Gibbs racing the favorite at plus 110. No big shock there when the top three drivers in terms of odds are all JGR. Hendrick Motorsports plus 190. And Team Penske plus 280. I know between the two of us, we both kind of like Brad Kay and Joey Logano this week. But Hendrick Motorsports plus 190, you're not going to see that number much on them this year. Kyle Larson's a little bit better than he was when we ran here in the spring. Alex Bowman won here in the spring. Chase Elliott and William Byron are both stud drivers. I'm not going to go back to what you said about Chase Elliott earlier in the show or to his fans. You know, I'm just going to leave it at that. Would you take a flyer, plus 190 on Hendrick, or is this just a stay away, if anything, Joe Gibbs, because you're that confident?
I would have to stay with Joe Gibbs. I cannot get behind Hendrick because Bowman getting there, he kind of got lucky because of between the pit stops. Was there pit stops? I think there was pit stops after the last caution there. So
yeah, they pumped up the tires, man.
It should have been Hamlin that ran and got the win. So I would still stick with JGR.
All right. Good stuff. I think that wraps up this Federated Auto Parts 400 handicap. That's about all I had in terms of betting. Before we wrap up, though, we do have IndyCar in action this weekend. They are back after a few weeks off. They have 3 races left in their season. This weekend they head to Portland. And after a wild one at Worldwide Technology, we broke down the updated standings after that a few weeks ago following the race. Pato O'Ward, your new championship points leader. Alex Palou just 10 behind. Joseph Newgarden, Scott Dixon, even Marcus Ericsson, 60 back. They're all still in this thing with 3 races to go and the final race, awarding double points. But right now, the focus is on Portland. There are betting odds just about everywhere. Multiple books with the IndyCar up, so it seems like we're getting our act together here as the IndyCar season winds down. So I guess good job, sportsbooks. At DraftKings, Zach, we got to hand out a pick to win. We always do. Joseph Newgarden plus 450. Scott Dixon 6-1, along with Colton Herta. Will Power 7-1. Pato O'Ward plus 750. Alex Palou 10-1. Alexander Rossi 14-1. Romain Grosjean 16-1, along with Marcus Ericsson. Renus VK 18-1. And Graham Rahal and Simon Pagenaud are both 20-1. IndyCar's only run twice. The top level of IndyCar, that is, Indy Lights have run at Portland several times, but IndyCar's only run twice, 2018 and 19. Takuma Sato won in 18, and Will Power was your winner there in 2019. So looking at those odds, pricing, or just a gut feel, where are you going? And any other thoughts you have here as IndyCar comes back and gets set to conclude their season with what looks like it's going to be a wild championship points battle?
This has nothing to do with the picking of this, but I'm just going to say it's going to be tough for me to watch this week because NFL comes back. They're competing against the NFL. So that being said, Colton Herta, I think, is going to lift the trophy at the end of the race.
All right. He was fast at Worldwide, and then he had a drive shaft break, so maybe Colton Herta offer a little redemption. Again, his price 6-1. And yeah, IndyCar's going head-to-head with NFL, but yet somehow IndyCar winds up on the main NBC and NASCAR can't. Or NBCSN relegated Saturday night, not against the NFL. And it's a weak college football slate. I don't get it. Do better, NBC.
You do the outro, and I'll look up what they're competing against.
Outro. Do I remember how to do this? Yeah, I think so. I already said go read all of our stuff over at flurrysports.org. Zach's Richmond Raceway overview is up. The betting and DFS, of course, are on the way. If you want to go back and read again about last week's action at Darlington when you're making your picks, Zach's race recap is, of course, still available. And the starting lineup will be coming. Got some stats going up in written form as well. That's all over flurrysports.org, the little NASCAR section. And we wouldn't be here without the support of Flurry Sports. So go support them. YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're watching us do the podcast live. And of course, follow, like, subscribe, do whatever you got to do. Burnt Rubber Racing. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, basically wherever you get yours. So leave a review if you want to. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the follow button. You know the drill. We are looking forward to more NASCAR playoffs action. What were you looking up? I can't even remember what you were looking up. The outro got me so distracted.
Why NASCAR is on NBCSN, and I don't have a reason.
That's right.
I don't have a reasoning for why it is because NBC's showing reruns of other stuff.
Nice. Go NBC. Maybe it's because they didn't want to have Kyle Petty on the main network saying Kyle Busch is in a must-win situation. You got anything else?
No, but
anything else for the Chase Elliott fans that you pissed off earlier in the show? Do you want to say you're sorry as we get set to get off the air?
No, for all this time they said crap about Harvick. I'm not letting go. So no, but what I will finish off by saying, if NBCSN was continuing, I would say yes, this makes sense because you want to kind of promote your NBCSN channel, but NBCSN's going away. What's the point?
I didn't even know that.
Oh, we've known that since January. They said they were going to stop it.
I don't really follow my NBCSN ticker, but wow. I mean, they are going to have literally nothing with NHL going to ESPN and TNT, but, that's a conversation for another day. We're recording this on NFL kickoff night. Cowboys, Buccaneers, you got to pick.
Yeah. Bucks by 10.
I'm really proud that we got through the whole show and are just now mentioning that it's NFL kickoff night.
Oh, no, I said something. I said something about the IndyCar going against NFL.
Right, but you didn't say we're recording on NFL kickoff night, and we got through this whole show. We talked racing. We did our business. Now we're hopping off. Enjoy the football game tonight.
May have said some words we shouldn't have.
Yeah, and for those catching us on the podcast audio here in the days to come, enjoy the first weekend of NFL football, and of course, NASCAR steering clear. Saturday night action. Get those picks in. Enjoy.
Go Bills.
We will talk to you next week. This has been episode 26 of Burnt Rubber Racing.